Hello, Bruvs. We're back with The Sorrows of Young Werther by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. We are on the December 24th. And of course, Satan has to start speaking as soon as I do. On the December 24th, 1771 entry. As I expected, the ambassador annoys me. He is the most punctilious fool. Yeah, you too, bruv. As I expected, the ambassador annoys me. He is the most punctilious fool under heaven. He does everything step by step, as meticulous as an old woman. He is a man whom it is impossible to please, because he is never pleased with himself. I like to do work quickly, and, when the job is finished, leave it at that. But he is likely to return my papers to me, saying they will do, but you might look them over again. You can always find a better word or a more appropriate particle. I lose all patience. Not a single and or any other conjunction must be omitted. He hates those inversions, which I am apt to overlook. And if our periods are not tuned to the official key, he cannot understand a word. It is dreadful to have to deal with such a fellow. Count C's confidence is the only thing that cheers me. He told me frankly the other day that he was much displeased with the slowness and pedantry of the ambassador, that people like him make it difficult for themselves and others. But, he added, one has to put up with it, like a traveler who has to get across a mountain. If the mountain were not there, the road would be a good deal shorter and pleasanter. But there it is, and we must get over it. The ambassador has noticed the Count's liking for me. This, too, annoys him, and he takes every opportunity to speak derogatorily of the Count. I naturally defend him, and that only makes matters worse. Yesterday he made me angry, for he seemed to imply criticism of me. The Count, he said, is a man of the world. He works easily, and his style is good, but, like all literary people, he has no solid learning. He looked at me as if to see whether I had felt the blow, but he did not make me lose my temper. I despise a man who can think and act like this. However, I did make a stand and answered with some warmth. The Count, I said, was a man entitled to respect, alike for his character and his knowledge. I had never met anyone whose mind was stored with more useful and extensive knowledge, who had, in fact, mastered such an infinite variety of subjects, and who yet retained all his feeling for the detail of ordinary business. This was all Greek to him, and I took my leave, lest more of his twaddle should annoy me further. As a matter of fact, you people are to blame for all this, you who talked me into this, and had so much to say about an active life. An active life. If the fellow who plants potatoes and takes his corn to market is not more usefully employed than I am, then let me slave 10 years longer in the galleys, to which I am now chained. Oh, the gilded wretchedness, the boredom among the silly people whom I meet in society here. The fighting for rank, how they watch and worry to gain precedence. What poor and contemptible passions are displayed in utter shamelessness. We have a woman here, for example, who never stops talking about her noble family and her estates. A stranger would think her a silly fool, whose head was turned by her pretensions to rank and property. But she is actually even more ridiculous. She is the daughter of a mere magistrate's clerk from this neighborhood. I cannot understand how human beings can so stupidly debase themselves. Every day I observe more and more the folly of judging others by ourselves. I have so much trouble with myself, and my own heart is so restless, that I would be quite content to let others pursue their own ways. Hello, bravs! If they would only allow me to do the same. What provokes me most is the extent to which distinctions of rank are carried. I know perfectly well how inevitable inequalities of condition are indeed. I myself derive advantages from them, but I would not have these institutions prove a barrier to the small chance of happiness which I may enjoy on this earth. The other day, during one of my walks, I became acquainted with a Lady B, a very charming woman who has remained natural in the midst of all this artificiality. Our first conversation pleased us both equally, and on leaving, I asked permission to visit her. She consented so delightfully that I could hardly wait to see her again. She is not a native of this place, but lives here with her aunt. The looks of the old lady are not prepossessing. I paid her much attention, addressing the greater part of my conversation to her, and in less than half an hour I discovered what her niece later admitted to me, that her aged aunt, with but a small fortune and an even more limited range of understanding, enjoys no satisfaction except in the pedigree of her ancestors, no protection save in her noble birth, and no enjoyment but in looking down from her height over the heads of the humbler citizens. In her youth she was no doubt handsome, and probably spent her time inflicting her caprices on many a poor youth. In her later years she submitted to the yoke of a veteran officer, who in return for her person and her small independence spent with her what I may call her brass age. He is dead, and she is now a widow and deserted. She spends her iron age alone, and nobody would look at her if her niece were not so enchanting. And that's the end of that entry. And there will be no more until January 8th, 1772. They moved to another year at that point. All right, bruvs. I'm going to have to read this other book. But that was the Goethe entry for the day. The day. You sticking around, Daddy Dark? Bravs. Blue Jays arg. All right, I'm switching over to this other book. Regardless, I'm sticking around. I don't know what Brendan is doing. Oh, it's both of you. All right, I'm going to start this book, but not on this stream because you have to keep it in line. So I'll be back in a couple minutes here.